Hello, folks. Welcome to the chat. Happy Monday to you all. My name is Ninja Panda, and here we are at Cali Ninja Panda, joined by Comic Spirits Kyle. How you doing today, good sir?
Hello, hello. Quite well, good sir. How about yourself?
Oh man, it's been great. It's been great. I'd say for like the last week, I mean, a lot of adjustment, a lot of changes had to be done, in the whole process since since the beginning of the whole COVID thing, but. I don't think too much has really changed because I'm very much an introvert and this was my lifestyle beforehand. How about you?
Perfect for you, it sounds like.
Yeah. Get to deal with less people, less humans.
All good. Me? I mean, I'm a gamer at heart, so I'm an extrovert myself, but I'm fine and dandy. I get to see family and, lucky enough to keep kicking.
Yeah. Well, that's good that you actually have like people to be able to contact with, and then a little shout out to those that don't have the opportunity for such. But yeah, a good support around. Oh man, I ate that. I ate that terrible. I could have survived that if I did that right. So a little about yourself. Do we want to go into your work with Shin? How's that been, if you don't mind?
Actually, we were let go about 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah. It was a very, very quick. There are probably more complications that either I'm not aware of or they didn't want to be transparent about. Which makes sense.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's been like 3.5 years with them, so it's all good, man. It's more opportunity, More
right.
opportunity.
Right. And if you guys aren't familiar with, you want to go a little bit about your company and what you guys do and how you work in?
Okay, so real quick about it. It's been a year now since I started with my business partner and I. His name is RJ Gelmani. Also catch him on Twitch as well. He'll be streaming later this week.
Shout out to you, RJ.
Yeah, he just started. He just got affiliate, I think, about a month ago, and he's slowly working his rounds into the Twitch world, which is awesome. So congratulations to him, and he's honestly the business brains of the outfit here. I'm just a talker straight up. He's got all the great ideas. I like people, and I mean, he loves people too. We get along quite well. So, generally, it's just we focus on digital marketing, consulting, helping production, and creating live streams. So it's honestly a perfect time to really be involved around that type of stuff, especially in our current situation, but also in the future, because I feel like regardless of the outcome of how this is going to play, I believe people have seen a new way of living and a new way of making work. And
Absolutely.
There's always going to be new jobs. It just who's going to create those new jobs, and how can we be more thoughtful of like, okay, this job goes, what could we do?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's going to take time for our business. I have to admit, I'm probably the rock of, and I say the rock of my business as in, I slow things down, but I mean well, and I know RJ is definitely hauling ass pretty hard, and he's doing a great job. So, yeah, that's basically about it. We got a website, tridipity.com. Very newbie. It's very lo-fi right now. It's gonna do a revamp pretty soon.
Okay.
And yeah, honestly, just swing by. You can email us at tridipity@gmail.com. Just want to chit chat and say hi. I'll always reply. I love saying hi to people. So.
And it's true. Kyle's a fantastic person when it comes to just being able to feel comfortable around him. Guys, I highly recommend his company. Just the times that I've gotten to work with them, to work as a translator, as a mod, it's just like, he's been awesome. Like the whole company, the atmosphere, the energy, they really do care about the production value of what goes on. And thanks to Tridipity, I feel like I've been able to improve my stream quality quite a bit as well. But yeah, guys, and if you want to drop a link in your in the chat, go right ahead. So I'm eating carrots because I'm a horse.
Carrots are delicious. Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely are. So guys, welcome to Controls and Ports. We're actually here. It's been quite a while since we've done the podcast segment of this, and funny enough, the last time that we actually had a podcast on this channel was right before the whole COVID-19 lockdown that we ended up starting to do, the quarantine. And my other co-host, who I started doing this with, Chris, is actually going to be joining us again on Wednesday. So I've been getting a lot of thought. Been thinking about the interviews that I wanted to be able to get, the people that I wanted to be able to see, and like, you know, the topics that we can hit on. And I think today is a really good example because we got to discuss a really fantastic show that ended up happening, or ended up coming out, what was it, like 2 weeks ago? Or it came out on 420, right?
Oh, did it? Yes, sir, it did.
What's interesting to me is I did not know that show came out on that day. I even didn't know, like, I didn't watch it until quite a couple days later. And man, like, the day that I was really loaded. I was stoned out of my mind, right? And that first episode happened with the zombies and President of the United States. Not the actual President of the United States, but yeah. So did you know that was voiced by Dr. Drew Pinsky?
I did not know that, really.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow.
Yeah. All of those. So how familiar are you with the structure of how Midnight Channel came to be? Or Midnight Channel, Midnight Gospel. I'm thinking about Persona 4 right here. It's like, oh my god, they're gonna kill somebody in an alternate dimension.
Ooh, nice. I was wondering what you were thinking of for a second. I actually don't know too much of the structure of how it came to be. I was lucky enough to listen to the podcast with Joe Rogan and Duncan Trussell.
Which is a great podcast.
Oh yeah, it was fun. It was very fun. Yeah, please continue. I'd love to hear more.
So this show came about. Duncan Trussell has done a podcast in the past, and these were audio recordings of the podcast that he ended up doing. And what had happened is Pendleton Ward had listened to a lot of these podcasts and approached him, asking if by any chance they wanted to collaborate, work together, and like use his podcast in a kind of way, and in order to kind of tell another story. And what was cool, and I think Joe Rogan's podcast actually covered this a lot, is exactly how the animators came to be about the decisions that were made, about the colors that were done. And I thought there was a really good, like Joe Rogan made a really good point about how the character looked a lot like he said that it looked like Duncan, like not personally looked like Duncan, but he's like, I don't know how to explain it. He's like, it did look like you. He's like, the energy, like the feeling, the kind of personality that I got from you. And I was wondering if like the other avatars that he has, like the rainbows, if those were all designs that were part of Duncan's ideas.
I think I remember what you're talking about. He was saying capturing the spirit.
Yeah.
Duncan.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's the uniqueness of both, you know, the artists and viewers, but also just in general of just cartoons.
Yeah.
You can break a lot of realities through just animation, which is wonderful. And to follow up back to your point, I feel before again, I need to clarify. I have not seen Adventure Time other than, you know, a couple clips here and there, and then reading some of the storylines.
Oh.
It's really great show. So this is my first time going into this type of world, and I was locked in immediately.
First time getting like trapped in the mind of Pendleton Ward, I'd say, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And his style is interesting because it tells a story with the simplicity of his art. It doesn't look like it's really like all too complicated about the things that he does, but and I think Midnight Gospel is a really good example in a short frame to show you how like Clancy as a character changes per episode. from the clothes that he wears, from like the things that he does. Like there's a growth to him, and the same thing happens in Adventure Time. So I'm not like really trying to spoil anything, but like you're in for a treat. If you've been enjoying this, you're kind of gonna see like a more lightheartedness from Adventure Time until like you actually see the nitty gritty of it all and see that below the surface of that like kids cartoon, the lore that's there is definitely something that is meant for a wider audience.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Honestly, it's definitely a trip. No pun intended there. It was yeah, the first episode is just how did my buddy put it? He said everything in the background is funny, but everything in the foreground, what you're listening to in the conversation, is so deep. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost an internal or external. It's just a battle of battles because you're visually intaking all this type of sensory details here and there, but then also your auditory system is listening to everything that's being spoken of, and all of a sudden now you're like, hey brain, are you listening visually or are you listening auditorily? And then you're going back and forth, and it was, yeah, it's a very complex show. But
yeah,
layers and layers of like what's the right word, genuineness,
yes,
best way to put it.
that's a really great way to say it, because and I would say, as far as like my viewing, my approach when I ended up seeing the first episode of Midnight Gospel, it really seemed like it was kind of an awakening of sense. Like you put it in a good way. Like there was a lot of senses in the background, in the foreground there was what was going on, and then like you had the auditory. And I would say that I found myself in several situations where I would feel that I was missing a bit of the conversation because I was so engrossed to the visual. But
Right.
it's not a bad thing, because like I was just like, I'm gonna watch this again, and that conversation that happened, there's a reason why they've mixed in that visual to it too. What was actually a really good approach, and I want to, like, I have to thank the writers of that show, is it's a common technique that you see in writing as a process, and it's been more common since Community, since
Nice, good show.
yeah, it's a great show. But I would say I've noticed it a lot more since Dan Harmon became on the scene. And the reason why I say this is because like there's a layer to the story that's being told. And on top of that layer, like you're always going to be given like a heavy substance, but they find some other method to be able to make you feel like that's not the only emotion that you have to feel. I give this example because Community is a good example, and I think the Russo brothers ended up doing this, but here's where I'll say that the Russo brothers do it completely wrong. And if you guys don't know Marvel movies, I shouldn't have to really explain more of like Russo brothers in that part. But there's things that they did right, and there's things that they did wrong. The things that I'll give Russo brothers a lot of credit for is their continuity through 10 years. There's a lot of storyline that connects. That is a very difficult thing. Hats off to you. The thing that I'd say Dan Harmon did, and just has become a trend, is you have this very serious situation that goes on that really pulls on your heart. Like there's just an emotional minefield that's going on there.
Right.
But after you pass that minefield, there's just kind of a joke that is layered in that same fold of grass, that it's like you're still kind of like, you're still overwhelmed by the senses of what just happened, but it's like the joke was like, all right, that's a little lighthearted, I don't have to take it as seriously as what just happened. And the thing where I say like that's a good technique where the Russos do it poorly is, we'll say Doctor Strange, for example, and you have this really poignant moment of when he dons the cape and like, he's about to become the superhero, and then it starts slapping him in the face. And it's like a complete contrast of the feeling that you're trying to feel. It's like, oh, it's a serious moment, but don't take it too seriously. But like in the other time, it's like, it's a serious moment, you're gonna cry, but it's like, don't let that emotion overwhelm you. And
Yeah.
that, yeah, and it's like that's how I say it's like where I feel that the Russo brothers have mistakenly really done that approach, but that's a good mechanic of storytelling because like it lightens up the mood, right?
Yeah. Oh, what is this? We're slightly going off topic, but we're still right around this area. Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty loves to do. I mean, obviously Dan Harmon, right? So he's already got the structure of writing down
Yeah.
to a little dot. He knows exactly where everything is around it. Simply put, Rick and Morty loves to basically have a character learn and then pull that rug right under them.
Yeah.
Nothing was ever learned. But the way he does it is very satisfying. It's cringe-worthy as well, but also a little bit satisfying.
Yes.
It's almost like I want to say the word wrong here, but it's almost like we enjoy like self-punishment, or is it sadism?
Okay. Yeah. Sadism.
Is that where I'm thinking about that word that's connected there?
Right. Like,
Sorry if I'm using it wrong.
like self-harm kind of deal. Like we enjoy that, like that punishment that we endure. It's a masochism.
Or even branching out even further and like the give me 1 second, I need to look this up. It's not there is a term, and I'm gonna butcher it, but for the German culture is let's see, finding something funny from someone else's misfortune. Let me see. Yeah, I always forget this word. I'm part German, and I'm a terrible cultural German here. So I need to.
He's Caucasian. You're Asian.
And Asian. Let's see here. What's it say? Oh, Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude.
Yeah, that's there. Am I able to do this? Schadenfreude. I'm gonna post it on the chat real quick. So you can
Okay,
yeah.
let's see.
It's the experience of pleasure, joy, or self-satisfaction that comes from learning of or witnessing the troubles, failures, or humiliation of another. Yes, they consider this a very complex emotion here for the Germans, but I feel like we all kind of have this somewhere, somehow, in little bits of our lives.
I would you say that's like a human nature?
100%.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Definitely, a lot of things are nurtured into our life, but
Yeah.
it's definitely there's a nature here. I believe that not everyone's the same in the essence of nature, but definitely we all fall within the same spectrum at times. So, but yes, back to all of what you were saying. I get what you're saying because in the Marvel movies as well, I feel they kind of jumped the shark, but because it's a comic movie and everyone loves comics these days, and they're good movies.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. They're wonderful movies. Overall, if you take it as a full package, wonderful. But if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty and nitpick everything, sure, yeah. I agree with what you're saying that the Russo brothers tend to have this over exaggerated humor, but also trying to keep the deep emotion at the same time, which is very difficult.
Right.
Most comedians tend to want to walk that line because it's so important to have that connection with a deep emotion, but also bring a little humor to it. But that's all delivery and timing and all that stuff. So everyone's got their own way of doing it. It's just which ones do you connect with more? That's all. So I hear what you're saying, but maybe everyone else just enjoys it as well.
That's
just
true.
As is.
That's true. And like it's not to say that the Russo brothers are doing it wrong. It's like they make a really good point of creating that comic book feel to it. So like
Yes.
you really do feel like you're still enjoying a comic book, and I would say for that, like, hats off again. It feels like they've captured that in the right kind of way. So yeah, I definitely can see that point as well.
I mean, I'm still excited for the next phase.
I didn't even know that there was a next phase. Like I honestly, I was just like, why? Like they already did 10 years of it. Like I don't know. To me, and this is me personally, there's almost no time that like when it comes to my personal time spent is usually when I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make a decision. I haven't really watched a Marvel movie. Like the Avengers and like Endgame. Like I've seen all the Avengers movies, so it's again continuity has been the thing that I find fascinating about it. I don't find my time spent watching movies with the same overall message resonates with me, but it's not to say that it doesn't resonate with other people. Like I can see why people enjoy it, I can see why people love it, and so it's like, does that make it bad? No, absolutely not. It just means I appreciate something that's a little different. That's all it is. And it's like saying if everybody liked vanilla, there wouldn't be any strawberry or chocolate ice cream.
You take that back. Chocolate stays the same. It's delicious.
Chocolate's fucking awesome, man. I'm saying chocolate ice cream, hands down. I would much rather take chocolate ice cream than vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, I'm a chocolate man myself. I do like the chocolates.
The chocolates.
Yes.
Speaking of, like you know, I've been trying to actually eat healthy and I've actually been eating healthy. And one of my things that I do for my diet is just like, you know, berries, fruits, and then I'll use that in oatmeal, and I use the exact same ingredients into a protein shake. And one of the things that I do when I'm making my protein shake is I use chocolate oat milk, not goat. I don't try actually milking a little goat, but like I actually use chocolate oat milk. And it's fucking amazing to have. It's like you're drinking frozen chocolate berries.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so I highly recommend it if you want something like the nutrients in oat milk are fantastic.
Right.
You have low saturated fats, low sugars. There's just a lot of like good benefit compared to the other stuff. You don't have to worry about like just other kind of lactose and stuff. It still is creamy. I'd say it still has the same kind of consistency as regular milk, but like it just has a little different of an aftertaste because obviously oats don't taste like the proteins that come out of an animal.
Sure. How's the fat content in the oats milk?
Ooh, you mind if I go ahead and look that up right now?
Please. I'm just curious myself.
All right, so if this will not be a substitute to anything that you want for fats. It's actually really low in the fat department. We're having 1.5 grams of total fats.
Okay, that's. I mean, I'm sure they'll be getting fats from other things too, so that's fine.
That's very true. Yo, what is that?
Definitely want to hit as many macros as possible: carbs, fats, and protein.
Yep.
So yeah, no, that's what I was curious. That's why I really enjoy milk, because of the fat content.
Right.
I know it has. I try to go whole milk just because I avoid a lot of my own in meal-wise fats. But
Yeah.
because I know milk has fat, I'm like, yeah, that's where I get my fat, or avocado, or even butter or something, or any of the oils I use to cook. So.
What's up, Nico? How you doing, my dude? I switched over to avocados and like just my seeds and tree nuts. That's generally what I go for my fats. Again, it makes it really easy to put into oatmeal, put into smoothies and stuff. So it's almost like it's low effort on that entire part. And guys, for anybody else that's in the chat, we do have an open arena for Smash Brothers, so feel free to come in. Kaio and I are here on the mic just discussing a whole lot of cool stuff. We've been talking about Midnight Channel, we've been talking about eating healthy, which, by the way, this is another guy that I want to ask questions about fitness on a later time, because we both have two very different approaches to that, right?
Maybe. I actually don't. Well, we've chit-chatted about it. I think we're both on the same page on nutrition and just general health and
Yeah.
going from day to day, sure. But yeah, I've never actually got to pick your brain on that. And yeah, we could save it for another time. I think it'd be fun. That's something also I need to re-educate on certain things, because I've been stuck in my own ways, obviously. Not just from the quarantine, but even before that, I hit the gym hard like for a year last year, and I've lost 10 pounds. Obviously, that could be
Whoa.
from fat, but also definitely I know I lost from muscle because I'm not lifting heavy weights anymore.
Right.
I'm doing calisthenics, body weight. Also,
Yeah.
not a bad thing. Great thing. So, yeah, I would love to chat, on another time about this, even though I'm still continuously talking about it now. But, let's move on.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I was like, yeah, calisthenics. I was like, I can answer that question. I was like, wait, we need to move. So let me put this carton away, and I think that's a good time in order to segue as to where we stand as far as how we value our things. So yeah, let me go ahead and put this away. Be right back in just one quick second, senor.
Oh, good.
A good tactician is nothing to be.
Bro, Revlon has been going hard today. Good shit, my dude. So, all right, kind of jumping in between Midnight Gospel and like in the idea of valuing ourselves. I think that's a really good topic because that show, in my opinion, helps. I feel like there's a guiding perspective to try helping people see the value of their own life. You there, my dude?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can. I mean, you have to. Okay, you have to be open-minded and accepting the fact that yes, your thoughts are your thoughts, and how you feel and experience everything through life is obviously the only way of receiving information.
Uh-huh.
But you need to be very willing to either take a step back or open further, or just what's the right word? When you watch a movie, you suspend your disbelief for an hour and a half just to enjoy yourself. Typically, some people don't, which is fine for them, and others enjoy a movie or don't.
Right.
Whatever. But I definitely agree that it has to be done in a way that you guys. It's like I'm just gonna think of multiple things here, but it's like smoking your first blunt or going through just a new experience. You got to be open for it. You can shun it all you want. You can say everything bad against it, but until you've done it and walked through it and made sure you have the right headspace,
Yeah.
it's going to be very biased. And again, we are very biased creatures. We do this all
Right.
the time.
But and it's a difficult space to try navigating because honestly, it's not for everyone.
Right.
It is not for everyone to be like, I want to learn what it means like to understand myself. Some people are just content with, I just want a family, want to raise my kids, and that's it, and that's okay. It's not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but like if you're willing to take that avenue and go down that exploration and see what your mind is capable of.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel like it's one of the scariest things, getting to know what we truly are, getting to know what we truly can do. But it's also one of the most liberating feelings because you're not confined to all of the rules that everybody believes in. You're only confined to the rules that you believe in for the most part, minus the laws of actual nature.
Right.
But even so, like, that's bendable with drugs.
Yeah, I mean it's even bendable through mindset.
It's true.
You just got to be willing to take that either call it leap of faith or trust in your friend / family / whoever you are speaking with. I mean, every interaction, relationship, action is always, back and forth. Reaction, essentially, like physics. Every push is a pull, or even working out. For every push-up you do, you should do an inverted lat pull or something, or every handstand push-up you do, you should do a pull-up. You know, you're always balancing push and pull. So there's a lot of things I feel that's very important just in anything you do.
And
So if you're fighting hard in one direction,
right.
make sure you're also fighting hard in the other direction, because without taking those steps, you really don't know, is it really worth the efficiency or your energy to fight in that constant direction.
Right, because you can get sidelined at any time in moving in that kind of journey, and if you're not if you're not balancing it out on the other way, and you've worked so hard in this one path, what happens when that path gets blocked?
Right? Yeah. I mean, there. So I can counter argue myself all day, but there is another step I've seen here as well, and I definitely want to at least bring this to light. Is it's always good to go in a direction, regardless if it's
Yes.
push or pull, right? So we'll just use our push and pull idea we've been using for this
Mhm.
little talk here. If you push hard because you believe in it, and everything that's from your experience up until now, and your nurturing and your nature, all tells you to push. Push. Go push. Don't need a pull. Don't need a pull until you have a reason to pull. Normally, for a fitness person, if a sprinter is running every single day in training, either they'll do intervals one day and then endurance the next. It depends on the type of runner, obviously, or the athlete in itself. But you're always going to keep your muscles guessing. But you got to
Right.
make sure that if you're always running, you're activating your quads, your calves, you know, you're using your hammies, your glutes, you're using all these things. But the biggest force being driven are your quads and your calf muscles when you're running forward in a straight line,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Now, what tends to happen to most sprinters, they tend to tear their hammies or injure their hamstrings. Why? Because the quad muscle is so large that the hamstring muscle can't work. Basically, it can't take the force.
Right.
So, and I mean, you look at back in the day in high school when I was growing up. You know, I was no super athlete jock. I just kept myself busy doing different sports. But I was never a super athlete jock kind of guy. I just liked to hang out with different types of people. So I involved myself in all the kind of things I could: soccer, cross country, swimming. I did track and field, baseball. I did everything I could. And I noticed all the big football players, all the big jocks, they would focus on bench. Yes, pectoral muscles were amazing. They were great. Problem is, they never pulled. They never
Right.
did any bent over rows or any lat pulls or pull-ups. Now you notice their body is shaped in a concave manner where their chest is going in towards them, shoulders are coming outward because their back muscles are not strong enough to support their own pectoral muscles. This was a thing back in the late 90s and 2000s.
I thought this guy was gonna say the 70s.
No. I mean, it's
I know.
probably started all there for sure. But again, just to get a put that out visually, essentially it's the same thing as a thought.
Right.
You can go so far in one direction until you hit a obstacle or snag. That's the process of learning.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we want to prevent anyone that goes too far one direction before they either harm themselves or others. So we have these guidelines or lessons or examples we want to record in life to make sure, oh, hey, scientists, you want to clone things? Here's why. If you clone things, here are parameters of how to do so. Why? And you can list out every mistake, failure, whatever, so
Yeah.
people can at least continue the path. Now, that's not to say, damn it, I'm drifting. That's not to say if we've created this path, how accurate is it? Because, in time, tech changes, thought changes. So to revisit it must be, I don't say mandatory, but definitely if you want to learn or explore, you should go back to it and have ethical and good reasons to do so. I know, that's a different topic in itself at that point, ethics and pushing and pulling this and that. But just to keep it simple, I think everyone should always go in a direction because it's much easier to alter or say you're aiming at a bullseye and you either overshot or undershot. Well, typically, if you've undershot, you want to pull a little stronger back so you can get that travel all the way through to the bullseye, or vice versa. If you're overshot, hang back a little, don't pull as hard.
Right.
So regardless of, don't worry about how you're getting there, where you're going. Just make sure if you are going, reevaluate and see what you got to do again.
Right.
I think that's always the safest and most natural way for people to learn, because everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
No school of thought or guideline can put you in the perfect mindset. It's really you knowing who you are and how you interact with everyone in the global reality, if you will, or
Yeah.
just communicable reality, because everyone's reality is different. I don't care when anyone says like, my reality is this reality, which is true, but that doesn't mean your reality and my reality are the same. It could be on certain things, but not everything.
Right. Rafi, jump in this.
But yeah, I definitely think you, from going through that show, Midnight Gospel, that opens those type of realities in a different sense.
Like looking at that show, what was it? Annihilation of Joy, which was the prison episode, which one of my favorites, and still to this day, I've probably seen that episode roughly 5 times so far. Yeah, I've seen it a lot.
Once or twice, I believe.
I
I remember the first and a half times. I don't remember the second part of that half.
The reason why I watched that episode so much is because like it connected with who I am as a person so much more than almost anything else. There's the question that was asked in that episode is how many times does he have to go through with this, and it says as many times as it takes until he learns. And that was probably one of the most painful things that I heard, but it's true. Like when you hear that, it's like the lesson that needs to be learned here is not a lesson that can be taught from anybody else. It's us that teaches that lesson. And so it's going to continue, like all this is going to continue to happen to us until we learn how to make the decision to move forward or move in the right direction or move in a different direction.
Right. That episode reminded me of the Greek story of Sisyphus.
What'd you call me?
Sisyphus. Yes,
Yeah, I got a Sisyphus. I had to go to the doctor for that one. It was kind of a nasty rash, but
Yeah, so he was a sinner and was condemned to Tartarus for an eternity to keep rolling the boulder up.
Oh, okay, I know that story.
Yeah. So this story relates to a lot of philosophical methodologies called like Stoicism.
Yeah.
Stoics, basically just people always rolling with the punches, regardless.
Right.
It doesn't matter if they're doing it wrong. It doesn't matter if they're doing it right. They're always doing it. They're never giving up. Doesn't matter how bad it looks. Doesn't matter how great it looks. It's always moving and doing the same thing. It's almost like doing mundane things is the growth for the greater end game.
I thought you were gonna say the greater good, like the greater good.
No. Doing mundane things is not for the greater good. It's for the greater of yourself.
Right. Oh fuck.
Like if you sharpen your tools daily, your tools will be sharp.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a great episode, and the one thing I really love about it is watching the change between. Spoiler alert! Every time the host of the being they are following dies,
Yeah.
you notice the demon soul inside or entity, whichever you will, get pulled out of the dead body, put back into a Libra, I believe, a weighing scale, and it's plucked from I guess you would call it the spiritual guide, and plucked a feather from it, placing it to see who was in the right or wrong, or who was more moral, or whose fault was what. This is what I was getting at from when I was watching it from both times. But I'll need to revisit it again just to solidify my answer. I feel very, I'm not really sure, but I have the gut feeling right now. So it's weighing the spiritual guide or conscience, if you will, to the actual being. And 9 times out of 10, it's normally the conscious being's fault versus the spiritual guide.
Right.
Like the guide's there to help, but really can't do much other than hope for the best of the fact that you keep learning and moving forward. But you do notice that sometimes the entity, the core, is sad and crying, and you notice these supreme beings that are redoing this cycle over and over
Yeah.
start feeling emotions towards it, and it starts tearing up. It's being sad about it, and trying to give it love. I think one of the things was they gave it a kiss before they continued the venture to
Yeah.
respawn life, if you will. Very
Right.
much like a video game. But yeah, and you notice the character tended to be more timid, more thoughtful, more empathetic, more
Right.
emotional. But again, it does go south sometimes if I don't say too much one way or the other, but in that circumstance, regardless if you were actively aggressive or actively empathetic, they showed multiple ways of still not failing, but essentially dying.
Yeah.
So the whole point of it was to continue to try and find that right balance, I guess. But I always believe the balance is always different for each person. You cannot say the balance, like your balance is
Oh,
great for
100%.
my balance. It is a good initial starting point to say,
Right.
hey,
It's a guiding
Greg.
light.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I, hey, I look up to Greg. He's got his life together. Everything's great for him. So I'm gonna ask him, hey, what do you do from day to night? How long do you sleep? What do you eat? And this and that. So I start getting all this information. And I go, okay, I can do this. And when I try it, I go, oh, I can't do this. And then obviously you can come to me saying, well, you can. It's just gonna take you time. But also, I've been doing this for years. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we all think that once we've learned a routine or an idea, we can initiate it and be part of our life immediately. That takes time to acclimate. Also, if things don't work out, that's not a bad thing. It's just showing that, okay, either this is going to be a challenge for you to try to continue to do, which is up to you,
Yep.
and also, is it with your time? Because maybe your strengths don't lie in that, and that's the
very
journey and
true.
the most important portion of that understanding of growth.
Yeah.
Especially in our time today, the quarantine thing,
Mm-hmm.
things have slowed down. That's good. We needed to slow down. Slow down is good, but also, how much do you slow down for? Right? There's a
Right.
balance to that. And I think everyone's has a right to decide if they want to run a little faster at this time or slow down a bit.
Right.
And I think it's very important to give people choice. Choice is the number one thing that allows us to be who we are.
So I was going to be like, like I agree with that. And I think that as people, we're always given choice. And that's kind of the misdirection that we're led to believe, is that we don't have a choice, when in actuality, that's all we have as human beings is
Right.
choice. We're the ones that choose how to feel in the situation. And the reason why I'd say it's so hard sometimes is that it doesn't feel like we were given the tools to properly learn how to deal with those kind of situations. And again, it comes down to, do you make the choice to learn those tools? Do you make the choice to find the people that are going to help you learn the things that you need to learn? Are you going to make the proper steps that go into that? And like that episode, funny enough, because like I was listening in the way that you were describing the spirit bird, and
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
and I was thinking, because I had a different approach to it, like knowing that I saw the relation of the spirit bird, and I thought that it was a response to it's his Bob, the character, it's his consciousness. And I saw it in the sense of Egyptians, how Anubis would weigh your soul to that of a feather.
That would make more sense. Yes.
But it's not to say that your point isn't wrong, because like like in the dynamic that you said, it makes complete sense. And to hear that, it's just like two different perspectives that end up with a similar ending. And with that whole thing, I saw the spirit or the bird to be a little bit more of Bob himself, like his inner conscience.
Right.
And it was like a little realization into, like, every single time that I saw like the feathers getting plucked out, and I saw the frustration of that bird, it reminded me of the frustration of Bob, where it's like he knew that his heart wasn't lighter than a feather. And so it's like seeing the kind of bits are there, but then I'd say to counter that is when you see the very end and the bird does offer its feather. I think it's like there's that understanding with the consciousness.
That's right. He did offer it. I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, like it. Oh my god! Like there was so much about that episode, and there's like another thing about that too. Is you look at it, there were parts of it where so much were going right. He was able to get his way, despite how hard that battle was. Like him pulling through, so much of him got him to the very end, and yet still, it ends in failure. And like that message being, it's not. And this was my favorite thing, and at least the way that I interpreted it is too many times people are focused on the end goal. They want that exit. They dreaming for that end purpose where I've always felt that should be a guideline. It should be a level of what that's on Netflix. So Midnight Gospel is on Netflix. I highly recommend it, as obviously we're talking about it. But yeah, it's that guideline kind of helps pull us closer to, like, the things of where we can see. And if we're constantly looking at that goalpost, it's like if you're constantly only fishing for that, you're not going to see the path ahead of you. You're not going to see the choices that you have to make in order to get to that goal. You're only going to see the very end of it and what's stopping you from getting where you want to be. Or you don't see what's stopping you to get where you want to be. And so when they're saying, it's like, this is hopeless. This is hope, or it should be hope. Like, I loved hearing that. Hearing this is hopeless. Because it's true. The more that I hope that I do this, it's like, well, how about we stop hoping and we just do it? We make the efforts, and it's like, I don't hope to tie my shoes in the morning. I actually do it. And there are things that just feel like they're so far out of our reach, and that's where we hope. Like me personally, I still catch myself when I send text messages to people. It's like, I hope your day's been going well. It's like, well, I could just ask. It's like, is your day going well? But then if I just ask, like, is your day going well? I don't feel like there's personal enough. And the use of saying, I hope your day is well, it feels lazy to me. It feels like I'm not really trying to learn about the other person that's around me. And I'm not, like, in being hopeful in this situation, rather than making the effort is to find out if everything is all right with this person. It's just, again, it just feels like it's lazy. Like there's so much more that could be done.
That's really interesting, actually. The now we're playing with the semantics of word in English. English is such a dirty word. It's I see the point where you come across where saying "I hope" or "How's your day?"
Yeah.
That's I think that's definitely that reflects off about who you are and
Yeah.
you as a person, personality wise. I definitely appreciate that awareness and outlook on it. For me, that never crosses my mind at all. God, I think I'm a horrible jackassery of a person at that point. Typically, I just say, "Hey man, how you doing?" or "Hey, how's it going?" or
But like hearing your voice feels good. Like it's genuine. And I think that's the nice thing about hearing from you, because when I hear, "Hey man, how's it going?" like, I feel good. Like the energy that you bring really feels like you care about how I feel.
Well, I try to make sure whatever comes out of my mouth is genuine. I try to, because I know I can not be genuine, which is also a very important trait I think everyone should experience. The fact
Absolutely.
of acknowledgement that, hey, you are capable of every single bad person in history. You just need to understand it. You don't need to do it. You just got to understand. It's a very, what's the word? Healthy practice.
Yeah.
To understand everyone's capable of all good and all evil.
Yeah.
Now, we're not obviously, we're taking out of that factor of the mentally ill or people that have some form of past traumatic experience that they're having a little bit of a hard time to really grasp their own reality. I'm simply generally stating a majority of people, yes, if you were lucky enough to have a good upbringing, or at least an upbringing that allows you to look at life in a manner of there's always hope, opportunity, chance, yes, then I think it's a good path to take, both good and evil. Understand why and where they lead. Obviously, if you don't have all those, and times are tough, and people do go through a lot of terrible stuff, and some of them very luckily, and I say very luckily because it is luck, but also as well as their attitude, that they turn it to the positive, and they find a way to grow, and they help other people that they go down that same path. They try to help them not to, or help guide them. But there are the people that don't get that, and yes, that's a hard thing to grasp when you have a good upbringing and family and all that stuff. When you have all that, it's very hard to not think that you couldn't have that. But again, like I said, it's good to have these mental training sessions, I guess you'd say. I mean, this is essentially meditation when it comes down to just a very specific form of acknowledgement of your reality today and what you could or could not have, or how you could or could not be, essentially. So
yeah, that's a really good point. Going into that idea of like, this is something that you should be aware of, I think one of the things that I tell myself, and I've always told other people, that's like, I am evil. Like, I am evil. And like, my friends are like, no, you're not. I was like, no, understand. I was like, so are you. We are all evil. It's just, if we decide to act upon it, we're also all good. We're all relative, and like like nothing, like all that's like the realities of everything that exists. It's all in our own heads, but in the whole sense, like we have the ability to enact forms of evil, or enact forms that other people see as evil, and to deny that exists, I think you're less connected with the person that you can be. Because you don't see exactly what you as a human being is capable of. And I think understanding that you're as capable of all this success and progress just as much as understanding as you're capable of every failure and every malevolent thing that any human has ever done. And just like you said, it's like, these are all things that, it's not saying that we are, but these are all things that are inside of us that are capable of existence.
Yeah, no, that's completely agreeable, and that's such a weird, hard, just difficult thing to bring up.
Oh, absolutely! Like, who wants to hear that you're evil?
Yeah, you talk about it in school. You talk about it to your children. You talk to your spouse about this. I mean, a lot of people go, "You're fucking nuts. You're just all the nuts you've been eating. That's what you are. You're a fuck."
Now, would I be an almond, a macadamia? Like, what kind of nut would I be?
An evil bastard, says C-Doo-Doo. Yeah. I'm an evil bastard. Wow. Touche.
Well, you're an evil nut. But yeah, it's it's a hard discussion. Where do you go? Dodo, you're an evil bastard. See, Dodo's evil. He knows it. Like, where do you go to actually have that question and not feel bad about yourself? That's difficult. Like, it's vulnerable. It's a hard place to be, to say, like, I am willing to admit all these faults about myself. But the moment that you do, and I'm sure that, it was like the episode of Death where he was overwhelmed with all the picture frames. It's like, hold on, what is all this? It's like, there are all the parts, all the dark parts of yourself that you haven't like come to address. And then like you just see him giving thumbs up and like loving everything, and it's just like disappearing and going away in like a good kind of way. And I feel that when you're able to have that in yourself, when you're able to love all the dark parts of your life and be like, yeah, that sucks. What did I learn from it? How did that make me become a better person? Then it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, actually, oh man, there's so many things going through my mind right now. So let me skim through this real quick.
So is just really quick, is my penis kind of going through your mind? Because I'm kind of skull fucking you right now.
I'm getting penetrated here, my friend. I don't know how to feel. Let me see here. So I want to bring up the idea of back in the past. I studied religious studies and what do you call it? I studied. That's what I did. No, I studied philosophy and psychology, religious studies, and sociology. And the biggest thing I've realized, we don't have an outlet being able to
Oh, very true.
really admit fault or even just say things because we've become so PC, and not just because of technology or the world. Obviously, humans are changing. The world is changing. So change isn't bad. Change isn't good. It is what it is. So
Change is
we're all
constant.
just trying to keep up with it. That's
Yeah.
all. And it's tough for people to, they've struggled all their life and they've found a way that works well. And all of a sudden, 10 years go by and things change on them. So they're fucking pissed. Like, I just spent 60 years of my life to make my shit happy, and now the world's like, no, not happy anymore. Fuck you. Oh, okay. But I mean, essentially that's just an example of how certain people can feel.
Yeah.
I do want to bring up like old religion. You could always talk to what's it, the confession stand. You can just let it all out, and it is a good, healthy practice just to be able to talk and say those things out loud first.
Yeah.
Could they get worse? Of course. Could they get better? Sure. But again, that's all within your control. Again, some people may not have all the control they want, but it's a start somewhere. And
Yeah.
having your friends and or family or anything just like an outlet. I think Reddit sometimes is the best outlet I've seen in today's technology. Reddit, people just ask some of the craziest fucking questions. I go, wow.
Oh,
I
and
will
ask
sit and
Reddit?
read it. Oh yeah, 100%. Like, that's the number one thing to just start off with. Like, just start asking people. But then again, when people reciprocate, you don't take it 100% wholeheartedly. You just listen. You see what they say, because regardless if it's a genuine person trying to help you or a troll trying to troll you,
Yeah.
I don't think that's the important fact. The important fact is that, one, you spoke it or typed it or put it out in reality first.
Yeah.
Once that's out there, your mind gets to do this really cool thing and reorganize itself because it's out there. I think we need to really learn how to reevaluate, and I'm terrible at this, by the way, because I'm such an extrovert. I'm always on the go, boom, 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 boom. I tend to not have enough time to look at myself and go, okay, I could have been better. I got to change this. I got to do, yeah. But in doing so, go through all these practices and failing as much as I do, and I probably will continue to fail, but I'm failing in the sense of I'm always trying to find something good out of it. Now,
Right.
there's a fact that maybe nothing good comes out of it. Like a great show, I'm sure you've seen it or know of it, is BoJack Horseman.
Love it.
And one of the biggest, ending things of it was, what was BoJack's friend's name?
Sarah Lynn?
No, the Vietnamese one, the
Oh,
writer. Gina?
No, it wasn't Gina.
I forget. I'm sorry, guys, but yeah, she came across and realized all her bad past. She wanted to create something out of it to help people,
Right.
but in the end, it was just like, you didn't need to. You don't. You just write. If you're gonna
Right.
write,
Yeah.
and it's okay if your terrible past hasn't blossomed anything good out of it. That just means, guess what? That's in your past now, and you choose to go from there. I'm not a psychologist, okay? I just studied it in college, so I have no real professional help here at all. I'm just saying that be honest to you as much as you can to yourself first.
Yeah.
If you do need help, reach out to a friend or so, and then if it gets to the point where it's unbearable, very hard to handle, ask for support from friends or family to go and reach out to professional help. I mean, that's all we can do. And again, professional help is not perfect either. So just understand everyone's really, they are trying to do what's best
Yeah.
for themselves first. It's not a bad thing to do that.
Right.
But also, they're going to try to do their best for others as well. You can't pretend you know everybody. You
Yeah.
can't pretend that they're always out to get you or they're always going to help you. You just got to understand humans are humans are humans.
Yeah. And it's interesting, and I say that I come from this from a self, like I almost want to say that in me referencing this, I feel that I'm almost narrow-minded in saying that people need to be open-minded in order to approach things. it hurts me when I talk to people that kind of use others for making themselves feel better. But yesterday, like on the trip that I was on, I kind of began to start asking that question. I was like, why is that selfish to me? Why does, like, wanting to be cared about, like, why is that so selfish? Why do I, like, target certain people more than others? And so, like, looking at this, I was like, all right, I see that the reason why I view things in this way is I feel that we should always be open to helping one another out. Like, that's my personal value. That's my personal view. And when I see somebody who decides that because I do all this, people should care about me, people need to care about me, like, I see that as selfish. But it's like, no, these people are still doing a lot in order to help others. It's just I'm the one who's making the conscious decision to say, hey, I don't like that attitude of saying I need to be loved. That's not for me to say, but I'll be like, there are different approaches to being able to get that love if you want. Instead of me saying, yo, you're doing it wrong, it's like, well, have you tried asking in a different way to see if people can understand you? Or have you tried looking at a certain group of people that might be able to give you that type of love that you're looking for, rather instead of trying to give it to everyone, give it to the people that are looking for that need?
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, yeah. I think that's a very good step forward, especially coming from your personality. You seeing, I mean, there's a reason, right, that you want to have that feeling of, hey, be more considerate, be more understanding, this and that. Like, there's a feeling you have there for a reason. You're my personality. The irony to it is we're kind of on opposite ends, but we both aren't, like, we're going for the same goal, but we're on opposite ends of that.
Yeah.
We approach it differently. Like, for me, I'm of mind of, look, there should be no reason that you need to apologize for doing whatever you feel that you've done, unless someone's told you, hey, that's offensive, I feel that, this and that. Of course, that's a good thing. Having someone let you know, hey, Kyle, kind of a dick right now. Oh, I'm sorry, what did I say to upset you? And they give their reason.
Yeah.
And you can have a discussion with them and say, got it. Okay, I get that you don't like this. Now, either I can decide to continue to do it or not, and that's up to me. Or I can even continue to go, like, do you mind if I ask why you feel that way? Or could I explain why I'm okay with it?
Right. And
at that point, that's where the discussion happens. And there's no wrong or right at that point.
yeah, and you're asking from, like, a concerned place of open-endedness. Like, you want to know what's going on so that you can have that conversation rather than have the feeling of anger, because a conversation of understanding and just that comfort is way better than just being mad at somebody because your feelings got hurt.
Well, it's okay to be mad too. Like, mad is part of humans. Sad is part of human. I mean, I am much more happier person than sad or mad, but I do get sad and I do get mad. Personally, I don't like to be sad or mad, but it's for me, as a personal learning experience I'm dealing with, is I need to be okay to be sad sometimes.
Yeah.
I need to be okay to be sad sometimes, because one, if I want to understand myself better, that's the very big first step. But two, this will lead me into understanding other people's realities.
So I guess I misspoke a little bit in the way that I was saying that, like, it's better than being mad. Like, I always feel that it's okay to be in those emotional states that you have. Those exist for a reason, and to deny that they exist, I feel that you're denying part of your body. But I guess what I mean is it's much better to find a sense of it's much better to find an answer than stew in a problem.
Yes, I think I get what you're saying. Or maybe let me use a different term. Finding an outlet.
Yeah. Like,
basically putting it out in reality. Whatever it's got to be categorized as, or how you process it, it doesn't matter. But you need to find that for yourself.
Yes.
And in doing so, don't worry about what other people think about how you this or that. It's the fact that you have a process, a procedure, as long as it obviously doesn't affect anyone negatively, you're doing fine and dandy.
Right. Now, like,
Yeah, I like how you say that. No, it's true because we're humans. We want to find some form of answer. Like I take myself an example because I only know myself
Right.
best. Is I tend to not care about the answer so much.
Mhm.
I do though. In fact, care about where it's going. So essentially, the outlet is still what I feel is more connected to me. But I know other people that they need answers. They need what's the word? A concrete solution or guarantee or
Right.
something because it helps them ground themselves. They're not doing it because they're trying to piss me off. Because sometimes it pisses me off because it sucks. I have friends that want answers and I can't give them answers or have solutions. I just can't do it because
Right.
either I'm too stuck in my own way or it's very difficult for my personality to think like them or consider their type of process. And I feel bad that I can't do it, so I get upset. And then they feel bad because they're like, oh, he doesn't get me, and I feel even worse again. So it's this weird cycle of feeling bad.
Yeah.
And it goes back, back, back. But again, it's good. It's good that I feel bad. It's good that they feel bad.
Yeah.
It's good that this is all happening. Oh, fuck. Let me rephrase. It's neither good nor bad. It is what it is.
It exists.
It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was on a trip with two different people yesterday, and like we all had different experiences. One of them was a first timer. One of them was definitely I wouldn't say like in a dark place where it's just like they were uncomfortable. Like, yeah, it was very emotional for them. There was a roller coaster, tons of tears, tons of like, I don't want to be here anymore. But at the very end of it, I'm glad that I experienced that because I needed it. And I remember talking to them saying, because their constant belief was nothing is real. Like all this reality is just a figment of a different portion of our mind. And like, so like all of it just, it doesn't matter. And I would try explaining, I was like, it feels like the pain that I see coming from you means that that's not necessarily true. In the way that I felt is you can't dismiss reality as fiction just because it's not part of your spirituality. Your feelings, that pain, that very much is real to your consciousness. And that's why I would say it's like you're allowed to feel that pain. You're allowed to feel that sorrow. You're allowed to feel every single one of those emotions that go on. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Because getting to acknowledge what hurts allows your body to heal, allows you to be closer to yourself, allows you to, in my opinion, I feel that I get closer to a sense of spirituality. And I'm an atheist. It's not that I believe in, like, you know, God and all this stuff, but I feel that there's a connection to the spirit and body. And the closer that you are connected with that, it's just the happier, or not like the happier, but like the more comfortable I've been walking around this little like fleshy meat bag.
Unit or vehicle you speak of?
This, I don't know, these are weird wheels that I have. They don't kind of spin around, they just kind of go in this motion.
Yeah, I heard when you get older they go clickety clackety and sometimes like drop.
Hip hop.
Yep, hip hop. Yeah, no, you reminded me of a quote from Dan Harmon. I don't know if you know the quote too. I'm going to butcher the quote, obviously, but it's simply stating that your feelings, everything you feel or your thought of feeling this and that, they're real. But that doesn't mean they are on the same level of what people see as reality. So we're all responsible for our own feelings, but also we're responsible for the collective reality as well.
Yeah.
You know, we cannot assume that people will get us or vice versa.
Yes.
We can only
Yes.
assume that we are in control of how we approach that and how we deliver it. If we don't deliver it clearly, we have to find a better way of doing so.
If we
Yes.
want to be heard, yeah.
We can ask, you know, our close friends or families or whoever we're speaking to have an open mind and try to keep it open, sure. But again, it comes down to our own individual effort in doing so. And nice spike. Holy snap. I saw that.
The tech- fucking Spike, and then like Rappy is like, I'm gonna tech it. Jet Shadow and Rappy are actually a couple, and they're both really fucking great Bowsers.
Yeah, I'm just damn.
That's, I was gonna say, that's kind of the whole idea. That tech on the two. Shut up, right? Yeah. Let me see. The death episode. That was like another good one. Sorry, I don't know why I decided to play the game like.
I don't remember which episode that was.
The death episode was the one where. So, have you ever seen the YouTube channel Ask a Mortician?
I have not. The Mortician.
Ask a Mortician is a fucking awesome channel. So she would just answer these questions about death all the time, and she's hilarious. Like her podcast, like her streams, everything is just funny. Like I love it. And so she was the voice that did death.
Oh. No. Nice. Okay. I'll definitely check this out.
I gotta not play just so I can continue talking.
Oh, you're good.
No, it's legit hard because I'm not playing enough in order to take it seriously. And what sucks is like both of these two are really fucking good Bowsers. So like I wanted to get practice, I was like, nah, I can't do it. My headspace is in this way. It's just like I'm in my brain. I'm in like the fourth trip or the fourth dimension. The cool shit about like my little trip that went on, or the constant like waking ups to being like, oh shit, I'm back here again. I don't know. You've never tried hallucinogenic mushrooms, have you?
I have not. No.
Have you tried LSD? I haven't.
I have in Vegas a long time ago with mixed of other things, so probably not the best experience. Just know Vegas, everything stayed in Vegas, I guess.
Well, obviously part of your mind stayed in Vegas there, but I don't know. It was probably somewhere else too.
Sure, yeah, it could be everywhere around the universe. That's very true. I'm not a big fan of Vegas either, so
neither am I.
Doing so really got me through that. And again, great stories I have, but yeah. I do want to say one thing is simply that the fact that I am going to be 33 in the next couple days, but
happy birthday.
Thank you. That I started to, experience these hallucinogens, drugs, whatever you want to call them, at a level where I was like comfortable. I think that's the most important.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think doing that opens up so many doors.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I think that's one of the most important things. Like, you got to be comfortable when you are going to be on that journey. Number two, I feel like making sure that you're at the right age group where your brain isn't like still developing to the point where it's, oh my god, I don't know how to it's gonna affect me for the rest of my life because of psychosis. So I think being responsible, and the first episode is a really good example of that. Of there's no such thing as a bad drug, there's just bad usages. And
I like technology.
yeah, there's no such thing as bad technology. It's just the way that we decide to use it. And in that whole aspect of it, I would say that I'm happy that I decided to experiment with the things that I've done. Like, I still want to try LSD. The thing about hallucinogens is you go in and out of the state of severity. So it starts growing into a way where it's just like, oh my god, I wouldn't say it's like I'm seeing colors, but I'm experiencing, or my mind can interpret colors of more vibrant way. You don't visually see these hallucinations, but your mind can visualize them in a much stronger way. What I will say is just the colors around everything, like a rainbow, is beautiful. Just colors are just beautiful. And the hardest part is actually just trying to be functioning. Like, your motor skills are just nearly impossible to actually get to do in the time when it's just like, nope, it's activated, relax. It's like, yeah, because I had asked, I was like, what's the Wi-Fi password? I'm trying to download an audio recorder so I can record what's going on, and I felt like that was 2 hours of me trying to figure this out. This was like 5 minutes, by the way.
Nice.
And yeah, my partner Jordan, and she's like, wait, I have one, I could just record it. I was like, sweet, because this is what I need right now. Like, I want to record it. One of the things that I want to do is I want to have cameras set up and record just 12 hours of how I am under the influence of a psychedelic like that, because I've seen how I am with other people. I want to see how I am in my own mind, in my own environment, if that makes sense. It's the experiences that I get with other people, it's cool because it's a shared experience. That there's times when you're connected with somebody, that feeling when both of you guys are in just different astral planes, but then in that same moment of the trip you come together. There's no real word to describe that, and except for just being in the present. And when you get to share that moment of presence with somebody, there's just a level of connection that isn't like anything else. And talking to like a lot of people in the poly community, hearing how they end up getting connected with people, where some people do this through, what is it? I think fluid bonding is what they call it, which basically like busting a nut in. But yeah, in those kind of things, it's like people are like, I get to connect a lot closer in that kind of way. And for me, it's been like, if somebody can reach me intellectually, if somebody can pick my brain in a certain kind of way, then I feel that I'm able to connect with them in that kind of parallel plane. And so if that exists in a completely astral mindset where my mind is in God knows what dimension, and my partner Jordan, her mind is somewhere else, and then at a brief moment through that 8-hour journey in that interdimensional travel, we meet up, that just, it feels like nothing else really matters at that moment. And so it makes sense of why being in that present feels so good.
I just realized you sound like the famous game. What's it called? What's that game? Everyone goes to space, and supposedly you can meet up on different planets, and it's all randomized.
Lost World? Outer Worlds? No, that's not. Oh, no.
What was it?
Eve?
I can't. We're going so deep in intellectual discussion. My brain can't pull up a game that obviously I know what it is. I just can't. Skyfall. Sky.
I have never played Skyfall.
Hold on. Skyfall? No, it's not Skyfall.
I feel like that's a 007.
What is it? It's gonna drive me nuts.
Titanfall.
Let me see.
No. Destiny.
Oh no. It's oh man, it was one of the biggest PS4 fails ever.
I know Xbox fail was Titanfall.
Was what?
Titanfall.
No, that's a great story. Number 2 is even better. What was it? Commercially failed games. This is gonna bother the crap out of me. I'm so sorry. I do not know it.
Commercially failed games. Ooh, that's interesting. I mean, I feel like if we wanted to, that would be something like what, like the success, and like if we wanted to go into the value. But I like the topic of where we're going at right now. I like just the flow of what we're doing. So it's like
the way you were talking about it just made me think of this game.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know the game.
So like, was the point of this to figure out the game, or like the parallel of it? It's like, oh, I know what you're talking about. It's kind of like this, and like, fuck.
It was meant to be a really, well, to me it was a funny joke in my head, but obviously I think
I think this part of the joke is actually pretty good. Not gonna
I
lie.
hope so. Let's see, PS4 sci-fi game. This is what I'll find it. No Man's Sky, son of a business.
No Man's Sky. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
God,
so-
that felt so bad.
Well, that's. I guess that was my point of my interjection here. So No Man's Sky, obviously, it was a bad launch, but supposedly it's gotten better. I've never touched, never played it. I just read about it. It sounded like a great idea. It sounded like, you know, the
Yeah.
ideas were up there. Execution was terrible. That happens live all the time these days, but it's okay. The fact of the matter is, it was spoken that you could randomly meet up with people on the same planet because everything was so randomized. So the way you described it to me about being in the same astrophysical world in the moment within the 8 to 12 hours
Mhm.
made me feel like that's essentially in gaming world No Man's Sky. That feels
Yeah.
good idea. How cool is it if you were playing with your pen pal or cousin or family or friend across the world and somehow you guys landed on the same planet and now you're helping each other build this habitation.
It's a great feeling.
Right? No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, you've described it through a medium of substance. This
Yeah.
also exists in the medium of video games, and I bet you it exists in other mediums.
Yeah.
Point being is that feeling, I think, is you could categorize it as what? The journey.
Yeah.
It's not really the end game.
Yeah.
Because regardless, how you, it's the. I guess you could say the end game is meeting, but without the absence or hold on, brain's getting retarded here. Give me 1 second. Let's go back. Yep. What I wanted to say was when you get to an end game without anything in between,
Mhm.
it's nice. It's a quick fix. It's exactly what swipe left, swipe right online dating apps are right now.
Right. It's instant
There-
gratification.
There is no journey. There is no accomplishment. It's all motor skills, or it's all automation at that point.
Right.
So essentially, this actually kind of loops back around what you were saying in general about the journey versus, you know, end game as well. To have the struggle or difficulty to reach the end game goal is, I think, what we are missing as a society as a whole. And this, I mean, I say it, I take this lightly, obviously, but having this incident of coronavirus for all of us today is really re-evaluating our mindset and understanding what's important. You know, so I think it's very important. I think that's the main thing. And I take it even further back, like when my pops used to say, a vacuum cleaner back in the 70s will last you 50 years. A vacuum cleaner today lasts you barely 10 years. You know, like back in the day, you strive for expertise or the best possible outcome, regardless.
Right.
If you got there, it always paid off via quality or
Right.
execution, whatever you want to call it. But there was a certain amount of time before an end game or end product or end whatever. Now, everything's so clickbait, everything's so fast, technology is going so damn quickly, and we're barely keeping up. And I say we are, as in not as individuals,
But
maybe
as-
as individuals, but as a whole society.
Yeah.
We're very behind. Yes, you have the next generation that are way better than we are, which is great, by the way. That's a must. That's a necessity.
Yeah.
But again, we're losing the journey. We're losing that struggle. Or, well, technically we aren't, because we were kind of in the middle of this tech world as well. But technically, as the millennial, rephrase, the Z Gen, or I'm sorry,
Gen
I don't
Z.
really remember all the all the
Zillennial.
different generations and whatever they're called, but the younger group coming into this world will make it difficult. Again, they're not trying to make it difficult for us, but we will have a difficult time keeping up with them. So
Right.
essentially, each generation is almost self-rebooting ourselves in the journey. So there's no way around it. There's always going to be a struggle.
Yeah.
So just be ready for that struggle. It's okay. Struggle is good. It's not bad. You know, yes, we want to make everything efficient, but when you make everything efficient, what do you end up doing? You make things easier. Your muscles don't grow muscles anymore. There's no resistance, and you're weaker. And there's an old saying. What is it? Hard times make strong men. Strong men make soft time, or quiet times. Quiet times makes soft men. and it keeps going. Soft men create hard time, and it just keeps cycling. We always do this weird cycle. Like we have it hard, and then we make everything easy, and then everything makes it easy. We lose the fact of understanding why we work so hard for this, and then we just continuously loop over and over and over. I mean, I'm totally generalizing this, by the way.
Right.
There's more detail in this, obviously, but.
You reminded me of a quote.
No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky. This whole damn discussion up to this point was No Man's Sky. God damn it! I couldn't believe I forgot that.
You reminded me of a quote that I heard, and it's one of the like early morning motivations that I listen to that kind of get me up and start working out. One of the best things that I've ever heard is, if you want your life to be easy, it's going to be hard.
Oh yeah.
And hearing that, I'm just like, fuck, that's so true, because like you have to work your ass off to ensure well, what I mean, like what did I miss? Are you trying to understand what's going on? Are we talking about the discussion that you're trying to understand, or are we talking about the game? If it's a discussion that we're trying to understand, God, I mean, I just lost my train of thought. But yeah, so in order to make your life easy, it's going to be hard. That aspect is like you have to work your ass off. You have to make sure that every day that you get up, there's a plan. Everything that is going to happen in your life, that there's a goal in mind. And even if you mess up in the process of you trying to get where you are, you're still with that goal, saying that this isn't a setback, this is just another direction to help me understand the journey that I'm on. And I think that right there is the most important thing for me. I can't say to anybody else, it's like, this is what's important. It's like, no, like everybody has a different journey, everybody has a different perspective. But for me, that is important, like having that kind of understanding. And right. Yeah, it's I don't know how else to put it, but it's like, yeah, the more that you fight, the more that you put that effort into it, eventually it's gonna get that level of like, you know, I want to retire and I'm now gonna be able to. But I don't like the idea of ever retiring, ever finishing, because I think in the stages of our lives, there's always something to be able to do with the skills and the talents that we do. Say, for example, somebody is just at a young age. We'll say Bruce Lee decided not to, like, he didn't have the aneurysm, and like, you know, he actually lived. So being the best martial artist that he has, like that's existed. Through his years, he finally retires. He starts teaching Brandon Lee to be like one of the best martial artists. That now becomes his legacy. He's like, he's now moving his knowledge into something else, into bringing it into a new generation. So he's not retired, he's just moving his work into a different way that it can benefit others. And that's why I say it's like, I don't see retiring as something that exists in the, like, in a certain type of human. It's like, you're gonna want to be able to grow. And if you ever feel that I have to stop, like this is where right now it's like I'm stopping, this is the end of my line, it's like you've already given up on that journey. But I mean, it's not to say, yeah, there, like, an end game should be like, maybe I do want a house, maybe I do want to have kids, maybe like this is what I want. But are you gonna die immediately when that happens? No, there's another plan that happens after that. And to be prepared for a world like that, to always know like where you're gonna be, it helps you become motivated to be structured in that kind of way. But it's also, like I said, it's not for everybody. Some people just want to be able to live that normal kind of life. But understand that if that's the path that you're going to go down on, that's a very, very difficult path. But it's worth it, in my opinion. Knowledge is one of the greatest tools, despite how irrelevant it is to the universe. I think us as human beings, knowledge is one of the best tools that we can have.
Yeah, I wanna add to that, well, I always break everything up in threes. There are multiple reasons for that, but for now, I'll just simply explain. It's easy. Humans are physical. Humans are mental. That sounds funny.
Wait,
Also,
English?
humans are, you can say, emotional or spiritual. I feel that emotional and spiritual go hand in hand just because it's such a unique, at least from what our at least from what our language is able to explain. Spiritual and emotional, I know they sound counterintuitive, but I believe they really go hand in hand because your emotions become your spirit, or your spirit becomes your emotions, essentially. You know. And I just want to add, the thirst of knowledge is for our mental gauge to be filled. We strive towards something in a mental aspect, regardless if you like going to school or not. When you find something you enjoy to learn, and it goes in your mind to think and break down and deduce and all these things going on in your mind, that's the fulfillment you're getting that we all have some way, somehow. Just depends on what it is. And the physical could be eating, sleeping, drinking, sex, whatever. It doesn't matter. Physical, we are such physical creatures. It's so important to not, you know, to not pay attention to it, to deny it. Like exercise, it's so important. People get exercise by walking, or doing a couple push-ups, or running, or whatever. You know, whatever they want to do. But something physical is so important. And then the emotional, spiritual side that, you know, I just want to add to that simply is being open and honest to yourself and who you are. I think that's the most important. You don't have to be honest to anybody else. That's up to you.
All right.
You know, but don't lie to yourself. That's just, it's the hardest thing to do, by the way, because I do it all the time. I try to believe something is what it isn't, and I do so either to protect myself or to protect the other person or protect the situation.
Right.
Whatever the reason. It's a difficult thing I'm still learning, and I could hope to continue to learn, you know. And I definitely want to add to your quote that you were talking about, because it reminded me of this quote from Jordan B. Peterson. I don't know if you know who that is. He is a Canadian, used to be academic psychiatrist, I believe, or psychologist. And yeah, let me pull up the quote real quick. He is quite the character, and he is the one who helped me pay attention. Like my mindset originally was always be open to everything. Well, you should and you shouldn't, and here's why. And he explains that you can be open to everything and not move, but then you're just wasting space. So don't always move. Do something. Aim towards something. Because if you're aiming towards something, it's much easier to readjust than standing 100 feet back than you were where you already were before. At least at 100 feet, you can notice, oh, I'm going the wrong way, I can turn around. Or, oh, I'm just slightly off course.
Right.
But if you don't move, you can't make those calls or judgments. It doesn't work that way. The world in our life doesn't work that way. I mean, yes, there are times where you want to sit and listen. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you need a breather to like kind of recenter yourself. Absolutely.
But that's different from active sitting and listening to doing nothing.
Yeah, to being idle, to being like you're just, I was gonna say progressive. No, to be why can't I think of that word?
Aware, focus.
No, like procrastinate.
Oh yeah. Well, we're all very good at this.
The facts. So Revlon is like, in your opinion, you think that you never stop learning stuff. You can be the best in any subject and you can still learn a new thing about it. I think if you allow yourself, you can always learn. Absolutely. I think that there are people that decide that they don't want to do anything else. Like I've had family members who gave up on wanting to learn like any kind of technology whatsoever. And so they just don't have it in their life. Like they don't need it. My grandma at 103, I wouldn't say that there's much that she herself is learning, but she gets to experience things in a much different way. And she's learning, I guess, a different reality that what's going on. So yeah, in a sense, it's true. But how much are we willing to learn, I guess?
Well, how much time are you willing to put?
Right.
That's another thing. Because yeah, some people do value time, and I mean, you should.
It's the most expensive commodity that you own.
It's really the only commodity that you own. You know. But yeah, I found the quote. Let's see here. So Jordan B. Peterson stated, "As you attempt to climb a higher mountain or aim at a higher target, the things around you become increasingly dramatic and of importance." import. Sorry. That happens to necessity because if you're aiming and working hard at something difficult and profound, your life is going to become increasingly difficult and profound. That might be exactly what you need as an antidote to the implicit limitations that you face as a human being. So again, Jordan B. Peterson, check out his podcast, Instagram. He's got a lot of cool stuff. He's always about aiming and readjusting aim. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter. Always be moving towards a goal and readjust. That's one of my biggest weaknesses. So I know it definitely hits me home the hardest because I'm a very nonchalant, happy-go-lucky, very spontaneous guy that likes to bounce around and keep moving around. But again, that's my strength and also my weakness. So therefore, this is why this really, really, really speaks to me. And I think it's very interesting where he comes from in this outlook. Because we're at a place in the world where everyone's like, oh, everyone's cool to do whatever they want. Yes and no. Whatever you feel is what you feel, and you should accept it all. Yes and no. Like, there is a line. Like I said, I think it's so important to, as a community, as an individual, we can create whatever we want in our own head.
Yeah.
But when you bring it to a collective or a group of people, organization, whatever, there should be time spent to label or categorize or just say what's worth or isn't worth our time or our values or whatever you want to speak of, and that moves towards something that everyone's on the same page towards.
Right. And that ends up getting tricky because, like, I mean, you would have to see what the community is, because the larger it gets, it's just like, well, what does everybody want? Because, again, you look at rural America versus, like, city America, and it's like, we're very different in that kind of regard.
Sure, yeah. It's a complete difference there. And then I mean, if you really want to go to a touchy subject, and I'll pull back real quick, is the for Californians, the gun laws. Why there's so many.
Now, are you pulling this back like foreskin, like, just a little quick pullback?
No. Poke my head in real quick and pop right back out. No, it's true. I don't care for guns. I'm not a gun fanatic, but I do appreciate the artistry of how guns are made and overall
Absolutely
discipline in using them. And that's something I think we don't understand is the fact when you learn to use a gun, how important it is to follow these procedures. That's just overall discipline, and that's something we lack thereof. Yes, we have discipline on other things, sure, too, but again, discipline overall is very important. You're either doing martial arts, doing some form of trade school. Everything has a discipline of something. I'm assuming, this is my assumption here, but the majority of us don't have the OG discipline back in the day like our parents had or our grandparents had, because they built off of a community with structure and discipline, which is
I would agree with that.
So now that everything's gone so open-minded, which is a good thing as well, we forgot structure a little bit, and I think that does hurt us on the other side of the spectrum. So coming back with that, I simply wanted to state was there's a reason why Californians are fighting between guns or no guns, is because people in the city don't, I'm generalizing a lot of this, people in the city don't want guns because, there shouldn't be, we're all civilized, there's no need for guns. But there are people out in California that have farms that use guns for critters and other things, and again, it's just them not being able to really talk to each other. It's like, if you have the people with guns and people without guns really talk to each other in the sense of why, not because your ideal is right or wrong. It has nothing to do with that. I think we have a real problem with sticking to our ideals versus listening to someone else, or just listening in general, but yeah, that's me pulling back real quick. And before I forget, because you said you're an atheist, and there's another guy I recommend to you is Sam Harris. He
I know him.
Is a American philosopher and I believe neuroscientist as well. And he had a quote that say that says, "Atheism doesn't close the door to unconditional love, self-transcendence, or any other spiritual experience. It just closes the door to the creativity that a specific book was written by the creator of the universe." So you've already stated this just naturally of who you are, as you said, like, I'm atheist. That doesn't mean I'm not spiritual, this and that. And I think there's a big misconception of certain terms and words being used. So yeah, I just wanted to also shed light on that as well, because that's another quote I say personally for myself, because I know there is this generalization or misinterpretation of like words and people's ideals to those words. So I was like, oh, reminder. I mean, again, it's always going to be like, I'm going to have things I don't remind myself because I don't realize how important it is. It is a fact, you know. And then someone's going to be like, "How? Why didn't you do this? This is way more important than you thought." I'm like, oh, okay. And again, depending on my mood, if I'm willing to listen or not, I'll reciprocate, you know, as I am.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm a terrible person when I'm just not paying attention or whatever. It's just, oh, I got the ball. That's all.
Right.
You know, just try again.
And that even goes back to what Revlon was saying. It's like you have to put that kind of effort in. Like, you know, you can't expect something without giving any kind of push to it. It's like, and I guess that's where we can go back to the misconception that I would think about, where I hear people saying that I just want people to love me, like, you know, for who I am. It's like, and it feels like, you know, you can't expect that of people because it doesn't feel like you're trying to ask for that. It doesn't feel like you're trying to ask for somebody's perspective from their eyes. You're just wanting it for yourself. And that's why I say, like, I feel that is selfish, but I can see the effort being put into, like, I've done so much for everybody, and I would just like that sense of appreciation. That's why it's like, again, I can understand it, and I see, like, effort is put in a different way. It's just, how do we understand that effort that's done? And I think it comes down to us as individuals. We have to be the ones to see that effort. We have to be the ones to see that's being done. And if we ourselves know that no effort is being done, we have nobody else to get mad at but the person who's at fault for that, which is ourselves. One of the biggest things that I've always done when I started getting into any kind of community, any kind of video games, that, like, I never just wanted to jump in and start talking to people. I didn't want to talk to the person with the biggest clout. I didn't want to talk to the person, like, you know, it's just, I wanted to be good at what I did, and I wanted to enjoy the time that was around me. And because of that effort, I hear, like, other conversations where people were like, oh yeah, like, you know, that person wouldn't be able to do something unless I paid them. I was like, I just hang out with the person, and they just, like, they offered their time with me. And because of that friendship and trying to be a lot closer with somebody, they saw that as a value, to be able to share something together. And and seeing that is way more valuable, in my opinion, than what money is. But yet our society revolves around money, so there's certain people that see the value of that and know how to create a structure around that. So you can't diminish their value more than you can diminish your own, because we all see things. It's just, we have to understand why and how we see things the way that we do, and we can only ask the questions from other people. Why is it that you see things in the way that you do, and are you willing to see things in another perspective as well?
Yeah, no, yes. Actually, it's funny that you were talking about, I have a few friends and, you know, people in my life also, the same thing. It's like, they talk about, I've done all this work, and where's the appreciation, or why haven't they said any form of appreciation?
Mm-hmm.
And I always come to the mindset of, you're right, that sucks. I go, but are you doing it for their appreciation? Or are you doing it because you want to do it? And then it comes down to another portion. It's like, I've yet to meet somebody that loves themselves and has a problem with people loving them. You know, I get people that want love from other people is because they tend to not have any understanding or love towards themselves.
Right.
I'm, again, very big generalization. I'm sure you can find an anomaly in this scenario.
Right.
We have so many people on this planet. But just for argument's sake, is typical people that I meet that want to be loved usually have a harder time to love themselves, and then people that tend to love themselves don't really care if they're loved by others. They already know.
Yeah.
Like they get the fact is, regardless if they love me or not, I love myself. Like I'm worth
Mhm.
my effort and time that I do whatever I do. And if people don't agree with me or click with me, it's okay.
Right.
I'm not upset because you realize you are a vessel of freedom of choice and making anything happen in your world that you want. Therefore, why should that be any different to anybody else? So, yeah, I, for argument's sake, this is typically a good standing to understand why someone would feel some way, or even you would feel that way. And I get stuck in that mindset once in a while too. I remember vividly in high school that I used to hang out and try to call people all the time, and like realize there was a point in time where people just didn't reply to me or call back or text, and I was like, people hate me.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, why am I thinking like this? It's called busy, Kyle. People can be busy. It's okay to be busy. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Why did my mind go that way?
Right.
You know?
I think, like giving yourself that answer, like, you know, asking yourself that kind of thing is miles ahead of people that just end with the whole, why don't people love me?
Right.
Because, yeah, like you look at that, it's like exactly like you said. The more that you're comfortable, the more that you love yourself, the more I feel that you don't need to be seeking out love from somebody else, because you already know that the people that are going to be there for you when they have that time will do everything that they can, and you know that you'll do the same thing for people. Having to talk to my friend yesterday while we were in this, I was like, you know, one of the most beautiful things, but it's probably one of the biggest things that you can't stand in your life. He's like, what's that? I was like, time is constant. He's like, what do you mean? It's like, it's always changing, and it doesn't care who you are, it's always going to move. And because of that, when you realize that time is a constant and it's never going to slow down for you, that means that you're allowed to slow down for the moments that you want to. And you're allowed to have the happiness of when you want, but knowing that all of that is in your control, because regardless, when you know that time is a constant, you begin to understand that everybody else's time is also constant. So they're constantly moving too. And they're constantly in some kind of state, getting them somewhere. And to expect somebody to put that time on hold for your feeling of comfort is why I always said, like, you know, it felt selfish to me. And yeah, it's when you no longer seek that for, it's like, you know, for yourself, it's no longer for you. But it's like, and you start asking the question, what can I do for you? Now you're trying to do something for somebody else. Or at the moment, you're just happy with what you're doing and you're focusing your game plan. You're there, you're structured, you have everything going on. You woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you wrote like 10 things on your list. You got everything done. That's an accomplishment. That makes you feel good. At no point of that do you feel like, oh shit, I needed to call somebody, unless that was on your list, which is okay.
Right.
So we're closing in on hour 2. I don't know if you're aware of that.
No, I would nope. Nope, wasn't aware of that. I told myself I'd give you an hour now.
Yeah, so I kind of enjoyed the talk, so it's like I didn't want to stop you, but at the same time, it was just like, wait, we're really getting a good flow of communication. So
all good, buddy. This is the first good run. I really loved it. I had a great time. Yeah, I definitely, dude, good chat. Regardless of where it went, this or that, I think I helped reevaluate some of my own thought processes as well. You know, not saying mine was bad before or yours was good. You know, it's just in general like, oh, hey.
I know exactly where you're coming from. That
for a second, I was like, I'm getting to know Greg a lot better now.
Yeah, no, same thing.
It's true though. Like my old quote when I was back in high school and junior high, I always stated was, everyone's a part of everybody once they cross each other's path, regardless of what they want to or not. You know, like the fact that we know each other, the fact we're talking, we're just giving a little of each other back and forth of just understanding. You know, and it at the end game, it could be we end up not talking to each other forever. It doesn't matter. The fact is, we're
This
all
moment.
allowed to take the path,
Mm-hmm.
and each interaction is an exchange of who we are to oneself and to the others. So
Ah.
therefore, you know, you can't help it. You can't stop it. I mean, unless you just want to put yourself in. That's not the right word. Hold yourself in.
I'll just put myself in
A.
A.
But yeah, I think it's definitely this was a shared experience journey, and definitely loved it, man. So thank you so much for a good opportunity here.
Dude, I appreciate you hanging by. Like, honestly, you were one of my favorite people that I wanted to get on here, because like this is a thought that I've had for such a long time. I've only done 3 episodes before of doing a podcast, and honestly, I just think that there's a collectiveness that we can sit down and talk. And I would like, if there's another time that you want to jump in for the podcast of like a regular thing, that we just sit down, have a little intermission, have a smoke, and then, like, you know, talk about like some of the weed that we hit too. But yeah.
Yeah, no, sounds awesome. Yeah, definitely. Let's chit chat later, and yeah, I'll hit you up later down the week, and yeah.
Absolutely.
Good time.
And
Good
one more time, if you want to give a little shout out to Tradipity.
Oh yeah. So again, brand new business started last year. Slow because of me, not because of my business partner. He's a goddamn saint, that man. It's tridipity.com, tridipity.com. Probably the best way to just, again, say hi if you wanted to, is tridipity@gmail.com. I'll respond, say, hey, what's up? And look, I don't know what the hell I'm doing half the time, but all I do know is I got to get up, I got to make sure I'm healthy, I got to make sure I give as much love and care to myself and others, because that is the one thing I want to do in my lifetime. So if I can at least do that before I go, I'm good. You know, who knows? It might change to something different.
Right.
But hopefully the, you know, again, like what we've been talking about the whole time, it's the journey.
Yeah.
You know, the end game should be simple. You should have a simple end game.
Yeah.
So how you get there is the adventure and your choices. So it's beautiful. Like overall, it's you're playing the game. You are the hero, you know. But
You're
you
the hero
share
in your story.
you share the world.
Yeah.
You know, like you are the hero. Yes, this is true. But you are sharing this world with everybody. To understand, they also believe they're the hero too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very important. I think it's something. Oh damn it! Another rant. This is something I feel that Japanese animation has gotten down to a T.
Oh my God, yes.
Versus American cartoons, but American cartoons have been getting there. Avatar, Last Airbender, one of my top favorites. Definitely, they did a great job.
Bro, life lessons.
Yes, well, understanding in general that there is no good or bad, essentially. There are good forces, there are bad forces, but overall, everyone is trying to do their best from their own perspective.
Right, from what we've been taught.
And because it is May the 4th be with you, and well, I'll end with this, good sir. In my perspective, the Jedi were evil.
I agree. No. All right, guys, we're going to go on a quick little commercial break. The arena's still going to be over. We're going to switch it over to a little bit more straight Smash Brothers. So if you guys want in, go ahead, jump into the arena. I'll be back in about a couple more minutes. So let's do a little intermission and enjoy. Once again, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kyle, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Of course. All right, guys, have a wonderful night. May the 4th be with you all, and
May the 4th.
enjoy Cinco de Mayo tomorrow, Taco Tuesdays.